Guide us. God has enlightened us.
अपने सरों को झुकाएं और दुआ करें। खुदा हमारे प्यारे आसमानी बाप, हम शुक्रगुजार हैं तेरी तमाम बरकत के लिए जो तू हम पे करता है। खुसूसन आए खुदा जिंदगी जैसी नेमत के लिए जो तूने हमें दी है कि हम जिंदों की जमीन पे कायम रह सकें। खुदा हम शुक्रगुजार हैं तमाम इस वक्त लोगों के लिए जो इस वक्त हमारे साथ जुड़ चुके हैं और आए खुदा इस मेमोरियल सर्विस में शामिल हो चुके हैं। आए खुदावंद, मेरी दुआ है कि तू सबको बरकतों से मालामाल कर और हमें आए खुदावंद अपनी पहचान दे, ताकि आए खुदावंद हम तेरी पहचान में बढ़ते चले जाएं और तेरी सूरत पे ढलते चले जाएं। आए खुदा हम दुआ करते हैं तमाम लोगों के लिए कि तमाम को बरकत दे और आए खुदावंद हम ऐसी छोड़ सके जैसी हम करते हैं, यानी मिस्टर सलीम गिल साहब ने छोड़ी है। आए खुदा गो के वो तेरे पास चले गए हैं, वो अपनी आराम में वो उस हालत में दाखिल हो चुके हैं जिसको हम सब उसके इंतजार में हैं। आए खुदा तू हम सबको अपने दिन गिनना सिखा, ताकि आए खुदा हम भी तेरी सूरत में ढलते चले जाएं और जब हमारा वक्त आए तो हम भी आए खुदा उस ग्लोरी में शामिल हो सकें जो कि हमारे खुदावंद यीशु मसीह ने हमारे लिए तैयार की है। हमारे लिए वो मेंशन्स तैयार किए हैं जहाँ हमें जाके उनके साथ अबदी जिंदगी गुजारना है। और आए खुदावंद इस तमाम मेमोरियल सर्विस में, तमाम मीटिंग में हमारा आमीन सारी हो, सब लोगों को बरकत दे। मांगते हैं तेरे प्यारे बेटे खुदावंद यीशु मसीह के मुकद्दस नाम। आमीन।
मैं अब दाऊद से दरख्वास्त करूंगा कि जो वीडियो प्रेजेंटेशन आपके पास है वो डिस्प्ले कर दें।
Guide us. God has enlightened us. Guide us. God has enlightened us.
वेलकम करें और उसके बाद अभी अपने दादा के बारे में बता सकें। Good afternoon. So I want to welcome everybody that has joined us online to celebrate the life of my grandfather, my dada. He was born on November 12th, 1930. Though sometimes that date is we don't exactly know when he was born, but the suspicion is November 12th, 1930. His father was Victor Kenneth Emmanuel, who was a school teacher. My dada was raised in a small town called Bukhara, Pakistan. And after the completion of his school and his studies, he moved to Karachi, which is the biggest and the most, like now the most metropolis city in Pakistan. And the one thing that I liked about my Baba is he was a pragmatic and practical person. So as he earned money and as he did his regular job, he also started investing in businesses. And at one point, he had a departmental store. He had a poultry farm. He had a manufacturing business, and he had invested in a lot of real estate. And as you can imagine, he always did this with the help of his sons and his daughter. And he loved his children a lot, and he always tried to teach them on how to, run businesses and be able to function in the world. And he was a great visionary. He loved to teach his children on what to do and what not to do. And the other good thing is he always loved helping the needy. And in Urdu, he always used to say, "मैं हमेशा देता हूँ, लेता नहीं हूँ." And he always, I mean, there was something that I always enjoyed about him and I loved about him is no matter what, he was there to help people. And it's one of those things that in some ways I hope that I can be like that, like him too, and that he would take joy or also uh, use it as a motivation to be able to help people and to be able to do things for people. So, for example, actually, before that, I would like to share one story. When my dad was in grade 7, he started my dada, which is sleep yo, gave him the responsibility to start sending money to people, to other family members. And the purpose for that is why doesn't the rest of the family also, you know, be able to have the same sort of luxuries or the same sort of benefits that everybody else gets? So, for example, he at one point he installed the first electric flour machine in his village, which is Clarkabad. We also had very, very good stories about Clarkabad. In order to fulfill the spiritual need in Clarkabad, he founded the first missionary family for several years. He set up a senior home there. They set up a school there. Him and my dado at that. The dado was there too. They set up a vocational school, which, if you can imagine, like a lot of times, especially at that day, in this day and age now, like people always think, oh, in this day and age now, vocational schools are generally accepted, right? Like, if you don't want to go to studies, you learn a skill, go do it, make money. So he was the first one in his village to set up a vocational school that if people did not care about studying the normal things, they could study skills and become skilled to be able to move on. He always, and this one I can attest to. I saw him personally send money to family members that when they needed to have weddings or whatnot, he would send funds. When they needed medical help, he would send funds. And he was just such a great man. So this is my second grandfather, right, passed away. And the one thing that I can say is, and I said this on the first one, and I will say this on the second one, is we are who we are because of them. And thank God that they were there, and thank God we were born in their families. and they have left a great legacy. And I hope that we can continue to go move their legacy and move on with it, and be able to make them proud. Thank you.
थैंक यू शारून। मैं अब कौमी से दरख्वास्त करूंगा कि वो हमारे परस्तिश में हमें लीड करें। तो कौमी अनवर साहब।
आमीन। खुदावन के बाबरकत नाम में सबको सलाम। मेरी आवाज आ रही है आपको?
जी जी बिल्कुल आ रही है।
मैं खुदावन का शुक्र करता हूँ और खुदावन ये मौके देता है कि हम खुदावन का शुक्र करें और खुदावन की तारीफ करें। और मैं पास्टर जमील नासिर साहब का, जॉनी भाई का, जितने भी बेटे बेटी हैं, और आज मुझे नहीं पता था लेकिन आज मेमोरियल सर्विस थी चाचा की, तो मेरे डैडी के छोटे भाई हैं। तो कलाम मुकद्दस में है कि जो मसीह में सोता है वो मरता नहीं, वो सोता है। तो आए हम सब के लिए और जितने मेरे कजन हैं उनके घरानों के लिए तसल्ली हम मांगते हैं और मिलकर हम एक ज़बूर गाएंगे। मैनू खुद हसीए खुदा कितने दिहाड़े जीवागा, तेरी नजाते शौक बेची होंदी बेहोश है मेरी जान, तेरे ही कौल ते खुदा, तेरे ही कौल ते खुदा, दिल की में रखना माई मां। चमड़े दी मश्क दी मिसाल होया है रब्बा मेरा हाल, चमड़े दी मश्क दी मिसाल होया है रब्बा मेरा हाल, सुखी हो जेली देना, सुखी हो जेली देना, अरे मैं ना भूलिया तेरा नाम, सुखी हो जेली देना, अरे मैं ना भूलिया तेरा नाम, तेरी नजात दे शौक बिच होंदी बेहोश मेरी जान। तेरी उड़ीक विच ये खुदा अखियां ते हो याने फना, तेरी उड़ीक विच ये खुदा अखियां ते हो याने फना, कर दो जवाब तू कर देगा, कर दो जवाब तू कर लेगा, लेगा तू तसल्लिया, कर दो जवाब तू कर लेगा, देगा तू तसल्लिया, तेरी नजात दे शौक बिच होंदी बेहोश मेरी जान, मैनू उदहसिए खुदा कितने दिहाड़े जीवाना मैंने उदहसिए खुदा कितने दिहाड़े जीवाना मेरे दुश्मना ईदा मेरे दुश्मना ईदा कदों तू तेरे गानिया मेरे दुश्मना ईदा कदों तू तेरे गानिया Amen. God bless you.
जी थैंक यू पॉमी फॉर लीडिंग द प्रस्टिश और इस वक्त रिफ्लेक्शंस होंगे ग्रैंड चिल्ड्रन के
Just wanted to give a little quick reflection of my dada. One of the most important lessons I've learned in my life was from dada. He used to say it to me in Urdu. He used to say, "Never become perplexed," and that means don't learn too much that you can't learn anymore. So the point of it is that in life you always need to keep learning. No matter how smart you get, no matter what, no matter how much money you make, no matter what you do in life, you always need to keep learning. It needs to always be one of my favorite quotes in life is the key to perfection is to change often. So if you want to be perfect, you have to keep learning, and that's something I definitely learned from Dada. And he was there for all of us in the hard times, good times. One of the best things is like he spent a lot of time with all the grandchildren. He lived with my cousins in New Jersey. He lived with us when we were in Baltimore. He lived with us when we were over here in Canada. I lived with Arun's family and Joshua's family, and he got to learn all that. One of the most memorable moments I have is when my brother we were BMXing one day, and we made a 6-foot ramp, and he hurt himself, and my parents weren't there, but Dada was there, and he helped me through that. So I just I have to give it up to him, and God bless all of us, and God bless him. So thank you, Dada.
इसके बाद शनीन के बाद कैबिन में दाऊद आप बैच में थे
was a great person. I mean, you know, we were blessed to have him for, you know, most of our adult lives and, you know, growing up. And he taught us lessons that, life lessons that we hold dear to our heart forever. And, but at this time, I don't think that it would be wise to mourn Nana. I don't think to be mourned. I believe that it's not because I don't miss him. It's not because I'm a cold person, but it's because we mourn people that are alive but not living. We mourn people who are spiritually dead. In the case of Nana, we celebrate his life. We celebrate his life, not his demise, only because in Nana's life, he gave us a reason to rejoice. They say that on a worldly level, we will never live forever. The only thing promised is this, is that when you are born, there's going to be a moment, there's going to be a time when this occurs. What you do between the time that you're born and the time that this happens is your legacy. In Nana's case, he fulfilled his legacy in the 90s. He said, I'm on my bonus years now. This was maybe 25 years ago. So imagine that somebody who could fulfill everything that they needed to do before their time. That type of person only needs one lifetime. They don't need another. They did what they needed to do. They fulfilled God's wishes. They started their family. They raised their children. They saw their grandchildren. They built morals and values, characters that sustain way beyond their life. I had some words written, you know, there's no fear towards death. The only reason you have to fear is when you didn't do everything you wanted to do while you were alive. Imagine someone so content with life that he was able to be ready whenever the end comes. His satisfaction of his life was evident by his lack of one on a worldly level. We often hide behind our money, career, degrees, and successes. Why? Because we seek validation from others, because we don't believe we are enough. It's so sad because this principle, Nana understood that we were so much more than materials and accomplishments. We were made in the image of God, by God. Nana didn't seek validation because he knew his values and he knew what his worth was. His accomplishments were evident. Though his morals and values, his success spoke for themselves, he didn't need to flaunt a thing. He didn't need to cheapen his success by speaking of it. After all, when the sun rises, all underneath it see it. In terms of life, I don't believe that as we celebrate, you know, years of life, people live a lot less than others, and they attain so much more and change the world in such a positive way more than somebody that lives 100 years or more. In Nana's case, at age 65, he said he was content. He said his life was being content. He was content in everything he did. He used to love garage sales. It was just growing up. It was, you know, something that we used to, you know, enjoy together. Obviously, he enjoyed it more than others. But essentially, what he wanted was he wanted to seek value. He wanted to buy something that was worth more than he was paying for it. In his case, it was utilization of that asset. In our case, you know, my father has taught us that to capture assets that are mispriced in their intrinsic value and to get them at a good deal. Essentially, Nana was doing the same thing. But why did Nana do these things? Why did Nana let these things, all of these material things, he didn't do that for that. He did it for because he wanted to help others. He took the money he saved and used it for a greater cause. So at the end of the day, in this world, everything's going to eventually come to an end. Everything that comes up must come down. Everything that starts has to finish as well. It's what you do in your life that makes a difference, and how many souls you bless. So I say that to say this. Nana had a great life. I was so fortunate to have a relationship with him that I miss him, but I won't mourn for him. I will celebrate his life through my morals, my values, and my actions. Now, and as I pass them down through the generations, that they had a grandfather that taught me all of these things. And I want to pass this on so that effectively Nana's legacy lives forever, as opposed to others that have no grandchildren, have no families. When they pass, nobody even knows about it. Unlike Nana, who has several grandchildren that love and care about him and that want to continue to make sure his legacy lives on past the days of his life. I mean, he was such a man of principle and value. That's all I remember about him. Even though we got a great time with him and we had the ability to spend time with him and learn from him so much, I obviously wish it was longer. But as somebody said a little earlier in this stream, was that he, when you're resting as a believer, you never die, you live forever. So our faith is that he's still going to live, his soul lives with God. And so we need to take solace in that and understand that he's on a worldly level, he's not with us anymore. He's with God. And as Christians, we live forever. We don't die. So that was it. And I really appreciate and miss him. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Beta, Kevin. I will now request
word for Dada. Dada, I know you can hear us and I know you can see us, and you're probably livid that we are doing this because I know he did not want a memorial service. He wasn't a typical grandfather, he was a friend. He would refer to me as Zara Badi and I would refer to him as Mr. That was just the relationship I had with him. I wrote a little poem for him and I named it My Best Friend, My Mr. The one that is my friend, the one that is my guide. How much I love and how much I care is too much to describe. You have always been my hero, you've always been my pride. You have always given me so much love and shown me what's deep inside. My heart is full of love and my soul is in delight. I will miss our movie dates. I will miss our FaceTime phone calls, drives to the mall, and most importantly, I will miss you singing to me. Every day I pray to God and I thank him for sending a person like you and making you my mister and my grandfather. Heaven gained a most precious, handsome angel. Until we meet again, Dada, I will forever love you.
Thank you for joining with us in this time, especially remembering my grandfather, Salim Gill. Just have a few words to say. He's been a great man, a great grandfather, a great father, as well, like through his children. And we're gonna take this time to actually not mourn, but celebrate. And I hope he's resting up in heaven, and hopefully we will meet again. Thank you.
Thanks, Arun. Now I will request Meetup to come and say a few words about Dada.
I'm just going to share a little bit. My Urdu's not that good, but I'm going to try. दादा हमेशा बहुत अच्छे आदमी थे, हमारी रिलेशनशिप भी बहुत अच्छी थी। वो दादा कम और दोस्त ज़्यादा थे, और हमारे साथ उनका टाइम बहुत अच्छा गुजरा। और all the memories that we have, they've been really beautiful. We're so fortunate that we were blessed with a man of his wisdom and knowledge. और मैं ये कहूँगी कि जब भी वो कॉल करते थे मुझे, वो कहते थे कि अच्छी तरह पढ़ना और कुछ अच्छे मुकाम पे पहुँचना ताकि तुम लोगों की हेल्प कर सको। और हम यही मेरे ख्याल हमने यही देखा है उनकी लेगेसी में कि उनके बच्चे भी, मेरे डैड और मेरे ताऊ और चाचू और फूफो जो हैं, उनने बहुत अपनी अच्छी जिंदगी गुजारी और गुजार रहे हैं। और वो जो भी उनने देखा, उनके डैड ने जो किया, उनके मॉम और डैड ने जो उनको रेस किया, और उन्होंने भी अपने बच्चों को उनको भी ऐसे ही रेस कर रहे हैं। और हम बहुत शुक्रगुजार हैं कि वो हमारे साथ बहुत अच्छी तरह उनकी हमारी रिलेशनशिप थी। और आप सबका थैंक यू, और चाचू का भी कि उन्होंने बहुत एफर्ट के साथ उनकी टेक केयर की इन लास्ट few months, और हम बहुत शुक्रगुजार हैं। और all the family in Lahore, Pakistan, that were also able to help him during this time. We just want to thank you and extend our gratitude to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Meetup. Is Michelle there?
No, I don't think so. Hold on, I think I can.
अपने अजीजों को जो हमारे दरमियान में नहीं होते हैं उनको सेलिब्रेट करते हैं। वो के दुख के लम्हात में भी हम खुदावंद का शुक्र करते हैं। खुदावंद का इत्मीनान जो बिल्कुल हमारी समझ से बाहर है, तुम्हारे दिलों यानी हमारे दिलों और ख्यालों को मसीह यीशु में महफूज रखे। ये दलील के पास जब हम पढ़ते हैं तो हम मानते हैं और ईमान रखते हैं कि खुदावंद का इत्मीनान हमारे साथ है। इन डिफिकल्ट टाइम में जब हम अपने अजीजों को याद रखते हैं तो ये सुपरसीड करते हैं अर्थली सर्कमस्टांसेस को, और पीस देते हैं हमें परमानेंटली, और सिक्योर करते हैं हमारी गम को और तकलीफ को। तो हम खुदावंद का शुक्र करते हैं कि मसीह खुदावंद के ये अपने अल्फाज हैं कि मैंने तुमसे ये बातें इसलिए कही कि तुम मुझ में इत्मीनान पाओ। और हम खुदावंद का शुक्र करते हैं डैडी की जिंदगी के लिए। हमारा इत्मीनान इस बात में है कि खुदावंद ने उनको बहुत अच्छी जिंदगी दी है। और जिस तरह लाजर और अमीर आदमी की कहानी से हमें सबक मिलता है कि रूहें देखती भी हैं, सुनती भी हैं और महसूस भी करती हैं। तो मेरा आज ईमान है कि डैडी हमें देख भी रहे हैं, महसूस भी कर रहे हैं और हमारी खूबसूरत यादों को सुन भी रहे हैं। थैंक यू सो मच डैडी, वी लव यू।
July 26, 2020 marked the end of a very unique relationship between me and my grandfather. This was a very bizarre day. For me. Dada would always ask me, "Jab main marunga, tu mere liye kya karega?" Well, Dada, here you go. I don't know why, but I never thought he would ever pass away. I think it's because of that I took him for granted. Dada and I were two of the most stubborn people ever. Every time I would buy food for myself, he'd always insist that I share with him. One day, out of frustration, I asked him, why is it that he always wanted to share food with me? His reply to this was, "मैं प्यार भी सबसे ज़्यादा तुझे करता हूँ." From walking me to my first day of school, to cooking parathas with me, to taking me and my family to our first garage sale and getting me my first basketball in Canada, Dada has always looked out for my family and I. Dada acted less like a 90-year-old and more like a 12-year-old. Dada's way of showing love was to tease people until he got a hysterical reaction from them. His way of showing him love got him into a lot of trouble within the family, even though I didn't notice this at that time. But these situations taught me patience and made mine, my siblings, and my cousin's relationship with him so unique. It was unlike a normal Dada. It was my most imperfect, perfect relationship. And to conclude, I just believe that Dada deserved a lot better for me and all of us. He went over and beyond for everyone, especially people close to him. I believe that Dada was a very handsome man, and second of all, he was incredibly selfless. He wasn't a huge fan of expensive things, big funerals, memorials, or wasting money. Rather, he enjoyed helping those in need, even if he couldn't give much to others. I believe that to be his legacy, which he wanted us to remember him by and make it part of our own lives. Thank you.
Okay, Zach, thank you so much. I would now request Reverend Kessler to say a few words. My dad was there in his last days.
चंद जुमले मामू सलीम के लिए कह सकूं। मेरा बहुत ज़्यादा उनके साथ ताल्लुक से नहीं रहा, लेकिन 2 दफ़ा बहुत गहरे तौर पे मुझे उनके साथ रहने का एक्सपीरियंस हुआ। मैं मरी में मेरी अपॉइंटमेंट थी 2012 में, तब 1 महीना मामू मेरे पास रहे। फिर उसके बाद अभी लाहौर में तकरीबन 5 मंथ्स वो हमारे पास रहे। जब से मैं उनसे मिला हूँ, मैंने उनकी पर्सनालिटी को कमाल पाया। अगरचे मेरे फादर लॉ थे, लेकिन मेरे एक्चुअली वो फ्रेंड थे और मेरी और मामू की फ्रेंडशिप थी। बहुत दफ़ा जब हम बैठते थे तो बड़ी देर तक वो अपनी लाइफ के बड़े खूबसूरत एक्सपीरियंस मेरे साथ शेयर करते, जो मेरे लिए बड़ी एनकरेजमेंट का बायस होते थे। और उसमें जो बड़ी खूबसूरती की बात थी, आमतौर पे लोग जवान लोग कभी बूढ़ों की महफिल में बैठते हैं तो वो बोर फील करते हैं, लेकिन मामू बड़े फनी अंदाज में वो सारी बातचीत करते थे और बहुत दफ़ा मेरी मिनिस्ट्री के मुतालिक वो बातचीत करते थे और हमेशा वो सारी बातें उनकी मेरे लिए बड़ी इंकरेजमेंट का बायस होती थी। और मैं खासतौर पर शेयर करना चाहूँगा कि जब वो लाहौर में थे, संडे को वो चर्च जाते, तो चर्च के बाद सारे लोगों से मिलते, यूथ के साथ भी, जो अडल्ट थे उनके साथ भी, और सारे चर्च में उनकी सबके साथ दोस्ती थी। और जब अचानक मामू की डेथ का जैसे सबको पता चला तो सारे बड़े उनके लिए बड़ी शॉकिंग न्यूज़ थी, क्योंकि मामू के साथ वो मिलते रहे, इवन जब वो बहुत वीक थे, थोड़े बीमार भी हुए, उस वक्त भी वो उनके साथ बातचीत करते रहे। सो मैं आज की शाम खुदावंद का शुक्र अदा करना चाहता हूँ उनकी ज़मीनी ज़िंदगी के लिए। खूबसूरत ज़िंदगी, भरपूर ज़िंदगी उन्होंने खुदावंद में गुजारी, और अपनी भरपूर ज़िंदगी गुजारने के बाद हम सबकी उम्मीद है कि वो खुदावंद के पास आसमान में यीशु के पास है। मैं तमाम अजीज़ों के लिए खुदावंद से तसल्ली और शफी चाहता हूँ, खुदावंद से मिन्नत करता हूँ कि खुदावंद उनके बच्चों को, तमाम दोस्तों को, तमाम रिलेटिव्स को तसल्ली दे, शफी दे, और खुदावंद उनके इस दुख में हमेशा उनके साथ रहे। और मेरी दुआ है कि खुदावंद जितने आज इस मेमोरियल सर्विस में शामिल है, खुदावंद हम सबको भी जब तक हम जमीन पर हैं खूबसूरत जिंदगी खुदावंद यीशु मसीह में भरपूर जिंदगी गुजारने का फजल बख्शे। थैंक यू।
थैंक यू पादरी कैसर साहब। मैं शलीम से रिक्वेस्ट करता हूँ कि वो हमें प्रस्तिश में लीड करें। शलीम।
खुदावंद का शुक्र और आइए हम प्रस्तिश को जारी रखें। यादें जब सताए यीशु को याद करना, यादें जब सताए यीशु को याद करना, ख्वाहिश जब रुलाए, ख्वाहिश जब रुलाए यीशु को याद करना, करना करना करना, यादें जब सताए यीशु को याद करना। सुई उठाना अपनी यीशु के पीछे चलना, सुई उठाना अपनी यीशु के पीछे चलना, रूहे खुदा से कहना मुझको संभाल रखना, जब पैर लड़खड़ाए यीशु को याद करना, जब पैर लड़खड़ाए यीशु को याद करना, हर एक जख्म को अपने यीशु के खून से धोना, हर एक जख्म को अपने यीशु के खून से धोना, खामोश बैठ जाना, प्रस्तिश खुदा की करना, जब सांस घुट के आए यीशु को याद करना, जब सांस घुट के आए यीशु को याद करना, ख्वाहिशें जब रुलाए, ख्वाहिशें जब रुलाए यीशु को याद करना, करना करना करना, यादें जब सताए यीशु को याद करना,
यादें जब सताए यीशु को याद करना।
Thank you, Beta, for a wonderful worship. I will now request.
Say some things about my grandfather. He was a great man. He was, as everyone stated before me, he was an amazing person. He really had such a unique personality to want to help people. And out of that, I feel I've been helped a lot by him because, as everyone else stated, he went out of his way to help those in need. And I can only reference a time that I was on this receiving end of his help and when we were in Arizona together. And I learned some of the greatest lessons from him as a person. And growing up, I looked up to him as a role model. He was always looking to try to create help by saving and offering himself. He was such a selfless person. And one of the things that comes to mind he used to tell me was that in order to help someone, you have to take it out of your own stomach and give it to them. And those words stuck with me and left a remarkable mold on me. Not only to just give, because giving is one of those things that you can do on multiple levels, even if it means financially, but his words that you need to take it out of your stomach to help others was so deep if you really understand what that means. And that is that simply giving is not the answer to help anyone, but to acknowledge the sacrifice required to be able to give in an open-hearted way. And that legacy that he left and those actions of his were just phenomenal. I cannot even stress enough how great of a man he was, how selfless he was to put others' needs. I mean, when he came to help us, and you'll hear this from my mother, he came with such openness, and she might say that he came for a year, but how I remember it, he came for an indefined period of time. He never counted the minutes that he was going to help someone, but the fact that he was in a position his whole life, so much so that God blessed him to be able to help others without having to count for monetary or in a time fashion. You know, he was such a blessed man, and only few people are truly gifted and talented and blessed to that end to be able to, you know, help people genuinely. And in him, I felt that. I really truly felt that his help was significant. And in my life, if I'm able to ever help anyone, I will surely look back to his example that he set for me. And I mean, I just remember the type of things that he would do to help us. I mean, we were there in a new place, and he made that place a home. He always went above and beyond to make everyone feel comfortable, regardless of the financial circumstances or any other factors that were relevant. He was always just his. When I felt him being in the room, when I used to come back from school and just spend time in his presence, it was just rejuvenating and refreshing for me. I felt strength from his selflessness, and the lessons that he taught me, I mean, they will stick with me forever. And I mean, just some of the way he lived his life and his frugality was really paramount in how to sustain life, not just for yourself, but for yourself, your family, and others that you don't even know. And I was very fortunate to be able to visit his old home that was referred to before, and some of the other things that he engaged in. And those times really, really spoke to the character of Nana Gill. And I've never heard anyone say anything bad about that man. He made his own way to reach out to so many different people, regardless of, you know, the finances. Even if he had to make phone calls, those phone calls went out, regardless of whether he spent hours on the phone or half of a minute. You were able to feel the genuine concern that he exemplified, and he truly, I mean, I can't say that about most people, but all I can say is you can truly, truly see the way he lived his life, and he was a very, very, just a very great man. I know he was looking to come back, and, you know, sometimes God, no, let me take that back. Every time God has his own plan and his own time. So in his last days, when I knew he was in trouble, I prayed for him, and in that prayer, I just simply asked God to heal him and give him more life. But I also said, and I'll just share this now, the first time I'll tell anyone, is that I also prayed that if it wasn't his will for him to live, then for him to handle his situation according to his will. And for us being believers, that's the most important thing that we can rely on. Everything else in this world is uncertain. Everything else is uncertain. We don't know whether our next breath will even be there for the taking. But his legacy that he left shows that a person as fearless, as ambitious, as great as him, and just his vision for the world and to make change and make change through himself he was a classic and timeless person, and I will remember him forever. And even I hope I can leave his teachings and for others to also see in this world, because I mean, examples like that are far and few in between. So will I miss him? Absolutely, I will miss him. But I will always remember all the different things that he's taught. And those lessons are too great to stay here. I mean, if I spent the rest of the evening here with you guys, I still couldn't highlight everything. But I will miss him. I will say that I hope we meet again. And Kevin has something to say, so I'll leave you guys with that. Thank you, everyone.
I just had one thing to say. I wanted to mention this, and then I tried to wrap it up like as quickly as possible. But I just wanted to say one thing was that I just wanted to acknowledge Patrick Mamu for all that he did. No one else was able to help Nana in his final days, and Patrick Mamu was there. And I just remember the moment that Patrick Mamu said, call him on FaceTime so you can see him. We don't know what's going to happen. And I went on FaceTime, and I was looking at it, but like I was trying to look away because I couldn't stand to see him like that. And Patrick Mamu said, "Do you want me to disconnect it? Can you handle this?" And I was like, I just thought about Patrick Mamu and what he was going through, and I said, I got some energy from that, and I said, you know what? I need to be able to see him like this, because Patrick Mamu even worse, he's seeing him right in front of his face. I was looking through a screen. So I just want to commend Patrick Mamu and his whole family for everything that he did in the final moments of Nana's life. So thank you.
Thank you, Kevin and Jason. I would now request Michelle to say a few words for her Nana.
Hi. Hello everyone. My name's Michelle. This is Cheryl. We're Ruby's daughters from Canada. We just wanted to talk a little bit about Nana Salim. He meant a lot to us. For us, he was actually our Pata Nana, which is a nickname we have for him. It's because when I was little, I didn't have anyone to watch me when my parents would be at work. And Pata Nana, so Nana Salim, used to come over and I'd watch the Wiggles with him on TV, and I used to get hungry a lot. I was always like hungry. I was a hungry kid, and I'd ask him for a snack, and he used to give me lettuce leaves, which is quite an odd snack, but he used to just feed me lettuce leaves, so the name just stuck. It was just Pata Nana. That's all we've ever known him as. And he was such a kind person. Like, when my sister was born, he dropped everything and came and lived with us for 8 months and watched my sister help. He used to hang out with my dad. He was such a good friend to my dad, and he treated my mom like his own daughter. And he's just an amazing person, such like a ray of sunshine. He'd always like crack jokes here or there, just be there for everyone. And I just thought his energy was so infectious. Like, if you're in a room with Pata Nana, you are having a good time. You're not, there's no dull moment. He's always saying something fun. You're having some sort of conversation with you that makes you feel good. He would never talk about anything like too serious, or if he would, or sad, like he would always cover it up with a joke or sugarcoat it in a way. He is our Nana. We've never like felt like he hasn't been our Nana because my mom's parents, he always treated us the same as everyone. And there's just a few other stories I'd like to share. And so he'd come from Calgary for the summer, and he'd come over to our house and just hang out. And he would take Carol to the park. And at the park, there would be other like elderly people, and he would just start talking to them. And he'd talk to them like he's known them forever. And my sister was like, "Oh, Pata Nana, do you know them?" And he's like, "No." And I just thought it was amazing how he could befriend people, and like it was just so easy for him to make friends. I thought it was amazing. Like, I wish I was like that, to like make friends after like 2 minutes of talking to someone. He had this familiarity in him that like he just made people like a fan of him just by the way he spoke. And his independence was amazing, like so admirable to me, that even in like being an older fellow, like he used to go on the bus by himself. In the moment, it was a little odd, like, "Oh, why do you like going on the bus so much?" But for him, it was like his sense of independence. He didn't like to bother. He like loved it. And he did not want to bother anyone. Like, he would come from Baby Mama's house in Ancaster all the way to my house just to hang out. And he'd just show up and be like, "Hey guys, how's it going?" Like, he'd always ask us, like, "Oh, can you bake like cookies and cakes?" And like, we were told not to give him any, but we'd always make them anyway, just because like he asked us. And like, you'd only be here for a short amount of time in Hamilton. And it's very hard to believe that he's gone now. It hurts a lot, especially because he is our only grandfather on mom's side. But his memory will live on forever in our hearts. He's one of those people you can't forget, especially because we share so many good memories with him. And I'm so glad to have said like that he's my Nana, and that he's someone that has cared for me and my family and my sister and all of us grandkids, including like from New Jersey, Kevin Bai, Jason Bai, Sharon Bai, Shalin Bai, Zara Baji, Mir Baji, Arun Bai, and Joshua Bai, Zach, and Sasha Baji. All of us, and all the other grandchildren that I personally don't know, but that have been impacted by Pata Nana. We all can say the one thing about him is that he has impacted our lives in a way none of us can comprehend. Like, he's taught us so many good life lessons, and he's taught us about our culture, our history, how we came to be as a family, and he shared all those things with us and taught us so much that we can go on to teach hopefully our children or the next generation of our family too. And it's all because of him. He got started and he's lit a fire in all of us. And I just hope that we can all keep that flame alive and be able to celebrate his life every day. Thank you.
Okay, so thanks, Michelle. I would now request Zari to say a few words for the dad.
Everybody, most of what I was going to say has been said by others, but the only thing that I want to say now is that it was an honor to be his daughter-in-law. He stayed with us when we were living in Baltimore, and like the incident that Shaleen just shared, that we were both at work and the kids were playing and Sharon got really badly hurt, and if Daddy wasn't there, we thank the Lord that he was there, and he was there to be with the kids and to help them. And then he stayed with us when we were in Mississauga as well. Like for a very, very long time, the kids were able to be with their grandfather, and for me and John to be able to share and to learn from him, and to be able to have his company in our home was special. And I also remember Mommy today because both of my mother-in-law and my father-in-law, they were special to me because I was the oldest. I am the oldest daughter-in-law, and I spent special time with them, and especially going to Clarkabad and being able to help out with the kind of things that they were doing. And yeah, Daddy was always there to advise and to help and to be able to guide along with Mommy. And I just miss her so much today as well. There are some special notes in my life that both my father, Daddy, and Mommy, they were there, and when my kids were born, and when all the other good things happened. So thank the Lord for that, and thank you for this time and for the goodness that we've been able to share from our hearts today. Blessings to everybody, and let's live on to bring his legacy to life. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks for joining us for our Father's Memorial Service. Dads are someone to aspire, to follow, admire, learn from, to listen to talk to respect and adore. I can very proudly acknowledge that my brothers and I were very blessed to experience all of the above and much more with our magnificent father, Salim Gill. I was tremendously blessed to have a dad who was truly an individual, secondary to his very unique personality of being down to earth, humble, and egoless, because he always believed in respecting and saving the relationship at any cost and to help anyone near and far, especially his own children and family member. I don't think that anyone can say that he did not help when asked, and even help without needing to be asked. I personally would like to mention that throughout my life, he helped me above and beyond. and an unimaginable heights. Although it is impossible to share all he did for us in a few minutes, there was one incident in particular that comes to my mind. He helped me and my family when I had to temporarily relocate for my professional requirement to Arizona for almost a year. That was the time when my sons built a strong bond with their all well as the time when it developed the strongest morals watching him closely. As his only daughter, I know I held a very special place in his heart, and he appreciated my role. As his daughter, I surely acknowledged that he did so much for all of us, but we failed to return him back, not even a fraction of it. But I know his love was unconditional, and he never kept score or held grudges, and neither asked for anything in return. Daddy, I deep-heartedly apologize for falling short. I truly thank you for the tremendous love, care, and forgiveness you gave us all. Indeed, you are the most outstanding father on the planet. I truly salute you for your generosity, love, and care, along with your down-to-earth personality, which you demonstrated in different shapes and forms. May my children and I continue to keep your legacy alive forever. I strongly believe you are in the best place a righteous person can be. Love you, Daddy. You will always be my hero. Miss you, and will miss you forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth, for your reflection about Dad. I would now request Davis to say a few words.
Uncle, my father-in-law, he's a great man. उनका जो जिंदगी है, आई बिलीव, मैं ये सोचता हूँ कि वो हिस्ट्री है. जिस तरह से उन्होंने अपनी जिंदगी गुजारी, वो ना सिर्फ उनकी फैमिली के लिए बल्कि इस क्रिश्चियन कम्युनिटी के लिए एक मिसाल है कि जो उन्होंने सेल्फ मेड, जहां से उन्होंने शुरू किए, और ही वाज द गाय, वो हर वक्त हेल्प के लिए तैयार रहते थे. अब बात दफा रानी को मैं बोलता था कि रानी कहती मैंने बुलाना उनको, वो आने, मैंने कहा क्या मुझे हेल्प की जरूरत है तो अंकल नेक्स्ट डे टिकट लेके आ जाएंगे. तो एनीबॉडी कैन से उनको बोलते थे कि भी किसी की भी कोई जरूरत है, जो भी है, कभी उन्होंने किसी को ना नहीं बोला. और आज तक मैंने किसी आदमी से ये नहीं सुना कि उन्होंने उनके अगेंस्ट कुछ बोला. एंड he live a very good life, और उनकी जिंदगी से सीखने को हमें बहुत कुछ मिलता है. उनकी स्ट्रगल, किस तरह से उन्होंने जिंदगी में अपना एक मुकाम बनाया, फिर उन्होंने पूरी कम्युनिटी के लिए जो कुछ किया. एक I just salute him. 26 तारीख को हम लोग भी 24 तारीख को बात हुई थी मेरी उनसे फेस टाइम पे. तो वो कह रहे कि मैंने 26 को आना है, मैंने लाहौर आना है, देखो मुझे यहाँ हॉस्पिटल से घर नहीं लेके जा रहे, तो बस अभी मैं आ रहा हूँ. तो वही 26 तारीख को हम लोगों को जो न्यूज मिली, आई रियली मिस हिम. एंड स्पेशली जब हम आवर स्ट्रगल टाइम जो था अमेरिका के अंदर, he was always with us, and he's an amazing guy. उस हर आदमी के साथ उसका एक कनेक्शन उनका था, एक कनेक्शन बन जाता था. वो चाहे एज का उसमें कोई नहीं है, 10 साल के बच्चे, 5 साल से बच्चे से लेके 100 साल के आदमी तक उनका एक स्पेशल उनका लिंक होता था. तो वो हर एक के साथ घुल मिल जाते थे और उनकी विजडम से मैं यही कहता हूँ कि हम एज ए खानदान फायदा उठा सकते हैं, नहीं बल्कि एज ए कम्युनिटी, क्रिश्चियन कम्युनिटी उनकी विजडम से फायदा उठा सकते हैं। थैंक यू सो मच, आई मिस हिम अ लॉट, थैंक यू सो मच।
थैंक यू डेविस भाई। इस वक्त मैं ऑलिवर से दरख्वास्त करूंगा कि वो डैड के लिए फ्यू वर्ड्स कहे। तो ऑलिवर गिल।
मैं सबसे पहले पादरी साहब जमील साहब का शुक्र करता हूँ कि उन्होंने ये मौका, उनको टीवी की वसासत से हम सब मिलके डैडी की यादों को ताज़ा कर सकते हैं। मैं शुक्रगुजार हूँ तमाम ग्रैंड किड्स का, उनके पोते, उनके नवासों का, केविन और सुनील, जैक, अरुण और जारा, नीरज का, मिशेल और कैरल का, शालीम का, जोशुआ और अरुण का, कि उन्होंने आके अपने दादा और नाना के लिए बहुत अच्छी बातें कही हैं। और मैं शुक्रगुजार हूँ पादरी कैसर और उनकी फैमिली का, जिन्होंने आखिरी दिनों अपनी डैडी की केयर की। पैट्रिक के लिए शुक्र करता हूँ कि वो आखिरी दिनों डैडी के इतने करीब रहा। Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, थैंक यू ऑलिवर भाई। और इस तरह हम अपने इस प्रोग्राम में आखिर में पहुंचते हैं। और इस वक्त मैं आप सबका जो इस वक्त हमारे साथ ऑनलाइन हैं इस प्रोग्राम में, मैं आप सबका बहुत शुक्र अदा करता हूँ। और लास्ट जो लफ्ज़ हैं वो ये मैं कहना चाहता हूँ कि जो सबसे बड़ी चीज़ है जो कि हम मेरे डैड से सीख सकते हैं कि, और जो सब ने शेयर भी किया कि ही वॉज ऑलवेज अवेलेबल टू हेल्प एनीवन, whether it is from the family, friends, from the town, जहाँ कहीं भी लोग होते थे और वो उनके लिए अवेलेबल थे। और सब ये बहुत बड़ी क्वालिटी है, क्योंकि आमतौर पर हम सब इतने बिजी होते हैं अपने कामों में कि हम उन चीज़ों पर गौर नहीं कर सकते। और मैं इस वक्त पादरी कैसर, मेरी कज़न और उन बच्चों के लिए मैं शुक्रगुजार हूँ कि आखिरी 5 महीने जो थे वो उन्होंने उनके साथ गुजारे और उन्होंने उनकी बहुत टेक केयर की। मैं अपने छोटे भाई पैट्रिक के लिए भी बहुत शुक्रगुजार हूँ कि इस मुश्किल वक़्त में वो पाकिस्तान में जो आखिरी वक़्त था डैडी का, उसमें उसने दिलो जान से खिदमत की। गो हमें ये मौका नहीं मिल सका कि हम में से कोई भी पाकिस्तान जा सके इस कोविड की सिचुएशन के वजह से। और उसने आखिरी रस्मात भी जो है वो हम सबको रिप्रेजेंट किया। सो थैंक यू पैट्रिक। और उसके साथ की फैमिली का भी, शामिन का, बच्चों का भी शुक्रगुजार है कि उन्होंने इस वक्त में जो है वो उसको इवन के वो उनके पास नहीं थे तो उन्होंने उसकी जुदाई को महसूस नहीं किया और उनको अलाउ किया कि वो उस वक्त वो डैडी की खिदमत कर सके। मैं तमाम और भी दोस्तों का और जो रिश्तेदार हैं उन सबका शुक्रगुजार हूँ कि जिन्होंने गाय बगाए हमें कॉल करते रहे जबकि वो हॉस्पिटल में थे या उनके जाने के बाद। और हम सबके बहुत शुक्रगुजार हैं। गो कई दफ़ा लोगों ने कुछ गलतफहमी भी हुई कि हम शायद घर पर सबको मिलना नहीं चाहते, लेकिन हम कोशिश कर रहे थे कि हम इस कोविड-19 के गाइडलाइंस को फॉलो करें और हम ज़्यादा जो है वो बड़े ग्रुप में ना मिलें। और उसकी वजह से बहुत सारे लोगों को हम नहीं मिल सके, तो हम उसके लिए भी माज़रत ख़्वाह हैं। और हम जानते हैं कि आप सब हमें प्यार करते हैं और आप चाहते थे कि आप हमारे से फ़ेस टू फ़ेस मिल के हमारे इस दुख में और इस अप्रिसिएशन में शामिल हो सकते, लेकिन कुछ हालात
सेलिब्रेट कर रहे हैं मिस्टर सलीम गिल साहब की लाइफ को। और सारा आपने सुना नाज़रीन, जितने जायज़ टीवी पे हमें देख रहे हैं दूर नज़दीक से, और सलीम फैमिली की सारी रिलेटिव्स, उनके पोते दोते, ग्रैंडसन्स, डॉटर्स और सब ने जो दिखा आपने सुना, हम आपके शुक्रगुजार हैं। और फिर आखिर में इससे पहले मैं दुआ रुबानी और देकर माते बरकत से हम इस मीटिंग को खास करें, मैं खुदावंद का शुक्र अदा करता हूँ उनकी सारी लाइफ के लिए और उनके सारे उस पैशन के लिए जो खुदावंद ने उन्हें दिया। पाकिस्तान के अंदर भी वो हमारे चर्च के अंदर आए और फिर कनाडा के अंदर भी हर सर्विस के अंदर वो मौजूद थे। सो बहुत कुछ हमने उससे सीखा, बहुत कुछ जाना। सो हम आपके भी शुक्रगुजार हैं और आपका साथ देने का भी हम शुक्र अदा करते हैं, जितने लोगों ने हमें देखा, जहां से भी देखा। सो थैंक यू वेरी मच वंस अगेन। आइए हम खुदावंद की सिखाई हुई दुआ और दुआ रुबानी में शामिल हों और दुआ करें। खुदावंद, हम यीशु मसीह के नाम में शुक्रगुजारी करते हैं तेरे बंदा की सारी लाइफ के लिए, उनकी तमाम फैमिली के लिए तेरी शुक्रगुजारी करते हैं खुदावंद, सारे बेटों के लिए, बेटी के लिए और फिर उनकी जनरेशन के लिए तेरी शुक्रगुजारी करते हैं जो तूने उन्हें बख्शी है। खुदावंद इस बार फजल, रहम, तरस खा और बरकत दे। और जब खुदावंद तेरा बंदा अपनी पूरी जिंदगी गुजार के इस दुनिया से चला गया और अब है खुदा उन्होंने अपने बच्चों की तालीम और तरबियत तेरे आइन और कानून के मुताबिक की ताकि वो आगे बढ़कर तेरे नाम को जलाल दे सके, तो खुदावंद मैं तेरा खादिम होते हुए मिन्नत करता हूं, अब उस पर कायम रहने की तौफीक अता फरमा और वो सारी चीजें जो खुदावंद तेरे बंदा ने तेरे लोगों को बताई हैं, सिखाई हैं, उन पर अमल करने की तौफीक अता फरमा। और जो उनके जाने के बाद जुदाई की दीवार आ गई है जिससे तेरे बच्चों के आंसू बहते हैं, खुदावंद खुद उन आंसुओं को पहुंच ताकि ये कह सके तूने दिया, तूने लिया, तेरा ही नाम मुबारक हो और सारी बातों में तेरे नाम को जलाल दे सके। आज सारी शुक्रगुजारी को, इस सेलिब्रेशन को अपने हुजूर मकबूल ठहरा मसीह यीशु के वसीला से, जिसने हमें सिखाया, ऐ हमारे बाप तू जो आसमां पे है, तेरा नाम पाक माना जाए, तेरी बादशाहत आए, तेरी मर्जी जैसे आसमां पे पूरी होती है जमीन पर भी हो। हमारे रोज की रोटी आज समय दे और जिस तरह हम अपने कर्जदारों को मुआफ करते हैं तो हमारे कसूर हमें मुआफ कर, हमें आजमाइश में ना ला बल्कि बुराई से बचा, क्यों जो बादशाहत, कुदरत, जलाल हमेशा तक तेरा है, आमीन। अब हमारे खुदावंद यीशु मसीह का फजल, खुदा बाप की मोहब्बत, पाक रूह की रफाकत और शराकत इस पूरी फैमिली के साथ और दुनिया के तमाम ईमानदारों के साथ अब से लेकर अब्दुल अबाद तक होती रहे। खुदा बाप, बेटे, के नाम में, आमीन। खुदावंद आप सबों को बरकत दे और अपने चेहरे के नूर को आप पर जलवा कर फरमाए। गॉड ब्लेस यू।